Guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be analyzing the total cryptocurrency asset class and comparing it to DXY, the US dollar currency index, and going over the key relationship between the two. So if you are new to the channel and you want to show some support, please leave a like and subscribe. So as our representation of the cryptocurrency asset class, I'm going to be using Bitcoin because it has a lot of price history. We have more data, and overall Bitcoin's kind of the king of the crypto market. So basically altcoins and Ethereum will follow Bitcoin, and I think this is a good indicator for the entire crypto asset class. And then in purple I have this US dollar currency index, DXY, which has a key inverse correlation to Bitcoin and the crypto asset class. And by the way, Bitcoin is in orange. Bitcoin's axis is the right axis, and then DXY has the left axis. So what we have here is a few vertical lines kind of indicating some key shifts in the US dollar currency index. So in blue, this is correspondent to the major DXY bottom. So as you can see, in 2014, we had a major bottom in DXY at around 79.4, ultimately topping out a few years later at 103 in December of 2016. And then we have another bottom here at 89 in January of 2018, and that went on a pretty decent rally all the way up to 102, peaking in March of 2020. And then following that, DXY took a decline down to around 88, 89, and kind of bottomed around the February 2021 timeframe. So we have Bitcoin, where when Bitcoin is in these bear markets, we can see how the DXY is rallying, right? So while DXY is putting in this crazy run here, Bitcoin was experiencing a bear market. It didn't put in any impressive returns. It didn't go anywhere. It didn't make new all-time highs. And basically, we saw no new all-time highs until DXY topped out here in December of 2016. And if we just take a look at this, Bitcoin was roughly $800 at that time frame. The previous all-time high was $1,000.22. And after it topped out, the next few months we had new all-time highs, and this parabolic rally began, right? And after Bitcoin's rally concluded, we saw DXY bottom, right? So DXY crashed all the way from 103 down to 89, and during this time frame, we saw Bitcoin go on this parabolic run all the way from $800 up to around 20,000. And then following Bitcoin's peak, DXY went from all the way down at 89 up to 102 again. And this was kind of the peak in March of 2020 when we saw Bitcoin have that capitulation, and that was a pretty market-wide event where stocks also capitulated, and DXY peaked out at this phase, and then we saw DXY go all the way back down, and it really bottomed, had this double bottom while Bitcoin had this kind of rounding off topping pattern. So now that DXY has been rallying for quite some time, we can see it went all the way up from 89 to 104, and this is the highest DXY has been for quite a significant amount of time. And so far Bitcoin is the lowest it's been for basically since the past 75 weeks. So you can see that inverse correlation very clearly, and I think this chart just kind of analyzes it a little bit better. It illustrates how when the DXY is rallying, Bitcoin is not. Bitcoin is bearish, and then vice versa. When Bitcoin is rallying, DXY is not doing much. It's crashing, or it's going sideways, and there's a pretty clear correlation over the long term, although anything can happen over the next few weeks. So I would just kind of keep that in mind when looking at this chart, right? Because we can see how over the span of a few years, the correlation is very clear. But if we were just to say, take a few cherry-picked weeks of data, we could make the argument, okay, they both rallied during the same week. So I would just kind of keep that in mind. Make sure to zoom out a bit when analyzing these correlations. So now that DXY has had this what looks to be like a short-term peak at 104, currently at 101 right now, I would expect that whatever DXY ends up doing, if it comes back down here and this was the peak, then I would make the assumption that you could assume Bitcoin's ready to have a rally, right? If DXY is coming all the way back down, then that could set up Bitcoin very nicely because of that inverse relationship, right? Because DXY had a peak here, every time DXY had a peak, we can see how that was followed by a Bitcoin rally, right? A Bitcoin rally, right? So if we can see some sort of peak here at 104, that would be very, very nice for crypto and Bitcoin and Ethereum. But unfortunately, if DXY kind of continues this parabolic trend, like the parabolic trend in 2014, then Bitcoin would obviously have more to go in the bear market, more time to put in before we find a bottom. So I would actually compare this move by DXY to the 2014 move, just because the pace at which they have been moving up is roughly the same. So if we just draw some sort of general slope of this move, we can see how, you know, this one was very, very steep, right? DXY rallied very quickly, and we can say that, you know, the current rally is also very steep in that, you know, DXY is going up a lot faster than we've seen it move up in the past few years. So I would expect that, you know, after the end of this rally, when we do eventually peak, we are going to see a nice recovery and new all-time highs similar to that of 2017, where after this major peak at 103 in DXY, Bitcoin was basically set up for a very, very incredible run here, ultimately putting in this parabolic top at $20,000. But again, this is a very long-term chart. You got to consider that, you know, this could take years to play out, and this is definitely not for the next few weeks or months. And especially with DXY, it moves very, very slowly. It's not volatile at all. It is a currency index, so it is going to be comparing the US dollar to other currencies and kind of valuing the strength. But overall, I would expect that, you know, Bitcoin is going to be putting in a bottom similar to when DXY is putting in a top. And I think the evidence for a Bitcoin, or the evidence for a DXY top, is not substantial yet. We don't really have a lot to go on. And I would say if you wait a few months, I think that the long-term implications of DXY might be a little more clear, right? Because after a few months, we could have a little bit more evidence to say, okay, was this a top, or was this kind of a pause before a trend continuation, right? We've seen that before. We've seen pauses before trend continuations, and that could actually be fine if, you know, if we go back to 2015, 2014, this peak actually did correspond to roughly the Bitcoin bottom, but Bitcoin didn't put in a new all-time high until after this global peak here in December of 2016. So we could experience some sideways action in DXY while Bitcoin recovers some of its lost ground, and that's something that I would watch out for too. But in the event that we have an absolute top in DXY, then I would expect Bitcoin is ready to resume a bull market and to recover some of those losses and trend back up to new all-time highs. And that would correspond to some altcoins, Ethereum going back up and reaching their all-time highs once again. So that is the end of the video, guys. I hope you did enjoy. And as always, I will see you in the next one.